Hello everybody and welcome to Dome Runners TV. I am your host Crimson Oracle, and we are going to be going over a little project I did today, making an airbrush booth from relatively simple, inexpensive materials. It gave me, something I needed that I haven't had in my setup, so I was pretty happy with the project, and I hope that everybody can take some use from it, because let's face it, who doesn't need a booth for their airbrush, right? And the commercial ones are, not cheap, so follow along with me and I'll show you how I made my little dinky thing. When it comes to supplies for this build, you're going to want a box, obviously. Any box big enough for your fan to fit on should work, but obviously you want to think about the size of the objects you're painting inside of it. You'll also want a 120mm fan, the kind for a computer case, and you want one with either a USB or standard plug at the end. This will pull the air out of your box. You'll also want a fiberglass air filter from the hardware store. It's going to be a lot bigger than your box, so you're going to go ahead and just cut that down when you use it, because you're going to want to change that out sometimes anyway, so you'll have plenty of extra filter for that. You'll also want an LED light strip, I recommend anyway. Make sure that it's waterproof. That will light your painting space. My first time doing a airbrush booth, I didn't light it and I really regretted it. And of course, duct tape will keep the whole thing together. Now, for my build, I used a fan mount I 3D printed, but while building I realized it was pretty much unnecessary for completing this build as simply as possible. Rather than screwing the fan into the mount, you would simply screw it into the back of the box, or even rather than bothering with the screws, you could just duct tape the whole thing. Complicated plastic mount that you have to deal with. It's slightly less elegant to change out the filter since you have to peel off tape or whatever, but it's actually easier because the clearances on the plastic bits that I got are pretty tight, so it is eventually going to, I think, get stuck or break, so it's not ideal. That's kind of why I'm recommending an even simpler way of doing it. Now, of course, the first step in building it is to cut a hole for your fan. You want it to be smaller than where the fan's mounting screws are, obviously, so that you can mount the fan. Don't worry about that if you are duct taping the fan. And next you'll attach the fan. It should come with some mounting hardware that you can screw directly into the box. You might want to double or triple up the cardboard if you're screwing directly into the box. Otherwise, the duct tape will help keep everything together. Make sure you install the fan guard. I accidentally left mine off initially, and you don't want to get your fingers stuck in a fan because that could really hurt. Next, you want to add your air filter. For that, I used the printed part, but obviously, just cut the square down and duct tape it around the edges to secure it in place, and you'll have a perfect filter for your fan, even without the 3D printed part. And of course, you want to add some lights on the top and potentially the sides of the box. This will provide you with a lot better view of the stuff that you're painting. And
big shot. Said I should be a big shot. Said I should be a big shot. Said I should be a big shot.
And finally, you want to put a hole in the back for a power cord, and you've got yourself a functional device. Now hook the power cords up so that you have electricity. And for that, I used Now hook the power cords up so that you have electricity. And for that, I used a extension cord with the 2 plugs and a USB adapter for the 1 USB port. You may find that if you are using 2 or 3 parts, depending on what you go with for your turntable, that are USB based, that it's easier just to use a USB hub instead of an extension cord. But that wasn't the case for me. And with that, you have everything, together in order to get your airbrush booth fully assembled. And that is pretty much it. You just turn it on and you're ready to start painting. It's really a simple thing that can be a major quality of life improvement for anyone who is painting with an airbrush indoors. So check that out. And of course, please don't forget to check out my show on my podcast feed on Buzzsprout. And don't forget to check out the show on Patreon if you want to support further videos. And with that, thank you, everyone. And don't forget to change your paint water.
Signal change. I could never give you